We are going to switch gears now, head on over to an event called Cops for Trump. The Vice President, Mike Pence, is going to be speaking at it in just moments. This is in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
The opportunity to vote. I think he gave up his right to vote and so much more when he harmed so many people in Boston and when he essentially committed an act of terrorism. Make no mistake, socialism is on the ballot. We know where the Democratic Party stands. We're in a situation where we literally have a choice between leaders like the President, the Vice President, and our governor who believe in capitalism, who understand what it takes to create good-paying private sector jobs, to keep us safe, and to make sure that we continue to prosper. Look at how well our economy is doing. So when you think about what is at stake in this election, I know we talk a lot about each election so much being at stake, but there is a tremendous amount at stake. We are not socialists in this country, and unfortunately there is a stark choice in this election. Today I have the privilege of introducing a leader who understands job creation, someone who has been a successful businesswoman, an entrepreneur herself. She serves as special advisor to President Trump. She's a strong voice for America around the world. In fact, Ivanka Trump has stood up for women around the world. There are many places around the world where women can't vote, they can't drive, they can't make decisions of what they would like to do with their lives, they can't go to school, where women are essentially second-class citizens. And Ivanka Trump has been such a strong voice for women and for all people around the world. Most of all, Ivanka Trump is a mother to 3 wonderful children, and she has been an advocate for working moms. She has been advocating for paid family leave, and I'm guessing that the President's most recent announcement in the State of the Union that he is going to support providing paid family leave for our federal workers, that Ivanka had something to do with that. So please join me in welcoming a great advocate for our country and for the world, the Honorable Ivanka Trump.
Thank you so much, Senator, for that very, very kind introduction. I was not planning on speaking today. I felt very fortunate to have the privilege of coming back to a state that I love so much. I visited throughout my father's presidency, but I visited on the campaign trail in 2016. So I asked the Vice President if I could come along for the ride. And then I heard he was coming to speak to you all. And there is no Trump who could ever be in a room full of law enforcement and not say thank you. So thank you. I am in awe of what you do every day. And as the Senator said, first and foremost, I am a mom of 3 young kids. And your commitment, your sacrifice, your diligence helps me sleep at night. So we are eternally grateful. You are at the core of the decisions the President makes when he promises to fight for stability, for security at our borders and across our nation. So we are grateful every single day for every single thing that each one of you does. I will say I want to share a little story because we were talking a lot about the economy, and the governor has done such a great job to take the policies that we're rolling out on a federal level and operationalize them on a state level. And I'll introduce him in just a minute. But my father likes to tease a little bit about this flourishing economy with record low unemployment across every single demographic. And just to give you a small teaser of that, record low unemployment across Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, African Americans, almost there for women in this nation, the lowest in 75 years, the lowest unemployment in this history of this country for disabled Americans. But I'll tell you one other thing that really excites me and is such a driver for my commitment to helping the president enact his vision for prosperity for all. In 2019, of all the new jobs created, 73% of them went to Americans on the sidelines of the economy. Not even unemployed, but completely marginalized, had ceased looking for work, and were outside of the workforce. The president promised that he would fight for every American, the forgotten men and women of this country, and delivering hope and opportunity for employment. He is doing exactly that. And he's making our communities safer. Because you all know better than anyone, when you have a job, when you can provide for your family, when you know the dignity of work, you're less likely to get in trouble, less likely to be part of the cycle of violence. And the record low unemployment rates here at 2.5, hovering right around 2.5%, the governor and I were talking about is part of why this state and why New Hampshire is so safe. The governor was just telling me that you all have the distinction of being the second lowest state in a ranking of violent crimes, which is something that you should all be proud of. And it's because of your vigilance, it's because of your presence, it's because of your professionalism. So we thank you. And also, there's another real benefit to the roaring economy in addition to creating higher wages. More people today are working than any time in the history of the United States of America. But anyone with pensions, and I assume a few people in this room have some pensions, are feeling pretty smart right now. The president likes to tell the story of a friend of his whose pension went through the roof, and his wife now thinks he's a genius at investing. So the pensions and the fact that they're soaring is amazing. We hear this all across the country from people when we hit the road about the benefits to them and their family, what they've been experiencing through the stock market lift and, of course, through raising wages. So thank you again. It was a great honor to be here, and I would love now to welcome Governor Sununu to the stage, who's been an amazing champion for law enforcement, who's been an amazing champion of our economic agenda, and who's a great friend to the president. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. Good afternoon. You guys excited? You should be excited. There's a lot of good things to be excited about. It is great to see everybody here. We do not have a packed room on accident. There's a packed room here because people know what New Hampshire represents. We are the Monday before the first of the nation primary, which means a lot of focus, right? The world is paying attention to New Hampshire right now, a little bit politically, but also economically, right? We've done a lot of things to create a lot of opportunity. We know government is not here just to solve your problems. It doesn't work that way. We're here to create doors of opportunity for you and your families and your community, whatever that might be. And you guys, the men and women in this room, are right on the front lines of it, and we cannot thank you enough. I also want to take a minute and thank Jerry Flynn, your executive director. I don't mean to just suck up to him, but I got to tell you, this guy's great. This guy's done a great job for the PBA. Look, why are we the first in the nation primary? Think about this for a second. We do it differently here, right? It's about community. It's about person to person. It's about local government and local control. And when we have the men and women in this room who themselves and their families are making that sacrifice, putting themselves on the line day in and day out, their lives on the line. As the local representatives, the honor of being governor here, that brings the obligation of making sure we're doing right at a local level. It's not about just Concord. It's not about Washington. It's about the local level and the opportunities we can provide. And the fact that you're standing a post every single day, there's nothing more important than hopefully giving you the confidence to know we have your back. Not just in words, not just because of the politics and the endorsements and all that. At the end of the day, that's all nonsense compared to the real reality of what it means to have the backs of the men and women in law enforcement across this state. It means that when you had a problem with the Lori list, we stood up and fixed the Lori list. When you said we have to stand up for the death penalty, we stood up and took care of the death penalty. When our economy was good, and we said we can make a difference with the cost of living increases, and we have that opportunity to do that. That's why a strong economy is so important. We took care of that too, right? Now, there's always something to do. There's always the next job ahead of you. And that's why having that communication, that connection, that transparency in a place like New Hampshire is so important. As a local official, as a state official, making sure your voice is heard. It's not about us talking to you. It's about having your representatives at a very local level all the way up the chain, all the way to the president and this administration, knowing that they listen. They want to know what's happening on the front lines. They want to know what the barriers are so they can tear it down. And to partner with an administration like this, it's an honor for me. It's providing opportunity for you, and it really gets people excited. And that is exactly why we have the First in the Nation primary, because we do it a little different here. We hold folks to a real person litmus test. We ask people to be that real person when they walk through the door, not the phonies you see on TV, but a real person. And at the end of the day, that's exactly why the president and the vice president are going to do well here. They continue to listen. They continue to put people first. And that's why it's an absolute honor to introduce Vice President Michael Pence.
Governor Sununu, former Senator Ayotte, Ivanka Trump, Corey Lewandowski, and especially to Officer Jerry Flynn, Sergeant Chris Ryan, and all the amazing men and women of law enforcement from all across New England. It is great to be back in the First in the Nation state, the Granite State. It is great to be with Cops for Trump. You know, I think President Donald Trump is the greatest champion of law enforcement to ever sit in the Oval Office of the White House. And we are really honored to be here. We're all honored to be here with Cops for Trump on the beginning of a busy day. I know I was with the President this morning at the White House, and he can't wait to get here. It's going to be a great night. It's also great to be with some other wonderful people the President and I deeply admire, especially with a governor who's leading an economic boom here in New Hampshire. He is strong on law enforcement, and under his leadership, there's been a historic reduction in drug overdose deaths. Would you join me in thanking Governor Chris Sununu one more time? A tremendous job. I'm also grateful to be here with a former senator for this state, a former attorney general for this state. She's been a champion of law enforcement throughout her career. In Washington, D.C., she was a champion of strong national defense, and she played a critical role in seeing Justice Neil Gorsuch confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States. Join me in thanking former Senator Kelly Ayotte. Thank you, Kelly. But I got to tell you, it is a special honor for me to be with a great friend, a member of our administration and a member of the First Family, who's been leading the fight against human trafficking. She's been a champion of working families all across the nation. Would you all mind getting on your feet and just showing Ivanka Trump how much we appreciate all that she has done for the cause in the country? Incredible. Thank you for that. It really is great to be here with so many friends, but I'm gonna be real clear on one point. I'm here for one reason, and one reason only, is that New Hampshire, New England, and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. Because like all of you, I'm here because I stand with President Donald Trump. When this president stands up for American jobs and American workers, I stand with President Donald Trump. When this president stands up for faith and family and the American flag, I stand with President Donald Trump. And every day when this president stands without apology for the courageous men and women in law enforcement at every level, we stand with President Donald Trump. True. You know, in recent years, before 4 years ago, it was a challenging time for law enforcement. You all remember it. It seemed like we've gone through an era where it was blame police officers first in one incident after another. But 4 years ago, you knew we could do better. You knew we could have leadership that would stand with law enforcement, stand for law and order, and in this very building. Many of you gathered here were there when you endorsed President Donald Trump, and just months later, New Hampshire Republicans set into motion a movement that has transformed this nation. We've made America great again. And it started right here, in this place, in New Hampshire, with all of you. And today, it starts again. And I am proud, on behalf of the President of the United States, to accept once again the New England Police Benevolent Association's endorsement for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. Thank you. It means so much. Thank you. Thank you for your support then and today. I know how much it's going to mean to the President when I hand that plaque to him a little bit later today. And I know what it meant to him 4 years ago. And I can tell you as his vice president, you know, my uncle was a police officer in Chicago for 25 years. I worked right downtown all those years. And we understand, as the governor said so eloquently, the sacrifices that you and your families make every single day. And your endorsement means the world to President Donald Trump and our entire administration. So thank you. But it really is great to be with you all. I mean, what a week we had last week. Wasn't that something? I mean, a record turnout for Republicans in the Iowa caucus. Tuesday, the President gave a historic address to the nation, the State of the Union, and a great American comeback. As the President said, our union is stronger than ever before. At the end of the week, as Democrats were still counting votes in Iowa, getting ready for another debate here in Manchester, another jobs report came out. If you didn't hear about it, 225,000 new jobs in January alone. And last week, after 3 years of endless investigations and a partisan impeachment, the President was cleared on all charges by the United States Senate. Justice was served, our Constitution was defended, and President Donald Trump was acquitted forever. It's over, New Hampshire. And the fight goes on. The truth is, 4 years ago, in this very place, a movement was born. A movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. You believe we could be strong again. You believe we could be prosperous again. You said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and we know that New Hampshire's going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. I mean, when you look at the last 3 years, I think there's only a few ways you can describe it. It's been 3 years of action. It's been 3 years of results. It's been 3 years of promises made and promises kept. But we're just getting started, men and women. I mean, think about it. President Trump promised to rebuild our military, and this president has already signed the largest increase in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We're rebuilding our military. When the last administration sent pallets of cash to terrorists in the Iran nuclear deal, under this president, we got out of the Iran deal, and we've taken the fight to radical Islamic terrorists on our terms, on their soil. And in just over a month, think of all the things that have happened since the first of the year. When 1 American life was lost at the hands of Iranian-backed militias, this president launched the first airstrikes on Iranian militias in Iraq in over 10 years. When militants stormed our embassy in Baghdad on New Year's Eve, President Trump sent in the Marines and said, "No more Benghazis." And when American lives were threatened by the most dangerous terrorist in the world, President Donald Trump took action, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. Even in the wake of the Iranian missile attack, thanks to the extraordinary professionalism of our armed forces, no American casualties, and Iran is standing down. That's what leadership looks like, men and women. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. This president has stood with the men and women in our armed forces like no president in my lifetime. And I have to tell you, I hold the title of vice president, but my highest obligation will always be spelled D-A-D. And I'd have to tell you, as the proud father of a United States Marine and the father-in-law of a United States Navy pilot, I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who cares so deeply about the men and women of our armed forces and their families, as he does. And it's not just those who wear the uniform. Like so many of you in law enforcement, this president's also stood strong with those who've worn the uniform of the United States. And President Donald Trump has stood with our veterans like never before. Thanks to the President's leadership, we are finally giving our veterans access to the world-class real-time health care that you earned in the uniform of the United States. Veterans' Choice is now available for every veteran in America. I know there's a lot of people that wear the uniform of law enforcement here, but if you also wore the uniform of our armed forces, would you mind standing up if you're able? Just letting us say one more time, thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. So we stood with those who serve and with those who serve. And this president has also stood strong. She stood strong for law enforcement and law and order here at home. And this president knows that national security begins with border security. And under his leadership, we've made historic investments to secure our border and end the crisis of illegal immigration. And thanks to the president's tireless leadership, Mexico is doing more than ever before to secure our southern border and theirs. Apprehensions on our southern border are down by 75% in the last 9 months, and we've already started to build that wall on the southern border of the United States. And while I'm told that Democrats in your state legislature actually voted down a bill to outlaw sanctuary cities, let me assure the people of New Hampshire, President Donald Trump will always support the men and women of ICE, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and all of their allies in law enforcement at every level. You know, we have a reminder just in the last 2 days of the risks and the sacrifices that each one of you take every single day. Not even 48 hours after a shooting of 2 police officers over the weekend, I am told that just a few short hours ago, 2 more officers were shot in Arkansas. And our hearts are with them and with their families. But let me say here in New Hampshire, at this gathering, as the President said yesterday, violence against police officers must stop, and it must stop now. Like all of you, we're relieved that the NYPD officers have been released from the hospital. Those officers and the officers in Arkansas, I know, will remain in our prayers. But I'll make you a promise. I'll make you a promise. Cognizant of the risks that you take every morning when you put on the uniform and you walk out the door. This president, this vice president, this administration will always stand with the men and women of law enforcement every single day to give you the resources and the respect that you deserve. People might ask me later in the day, why are cops for Trump? Well, it's because Trump's for cops. And you all know. I mean, think about it. Since January 2017, our administration has helped hire nearly 900 police officers and provided active shooter training for 30,000 first responders nationwide. At the direction of this president, our federal prosecutors charged the greatest number of violent criminals and gun criminals ever recorded in history. We're going after them. In the first 2 years of this administration, we increased gun prosecutions of criminals by 44%. And under this president, because of your courage and sacrifice, violent crime is down, and in 2018, drug overdose deaths across America dropped for the first time in nearly 30 years. Well done. In fact, with the strong leadership of Governor Sununu, here in New Hampshire, drug deaths from overdose are actually down by more than 20% since 2016. It's an incredible accomplishment. And it's a combination of law enforcement, aggressive efforts, it's a combination of strong leadership, a combination of communities coming alongside families who have been caught up in opioid abuse and addiction. So thank you, Governor Sununu. Thank you for your strong leadership. And along with this, Governor, the President and I are going to continue to stand with all of you who serve on the thin blue line. And to uphold the rule of law and law and order that you enforce every day, this President has actually appointed more than 180 principled conservatives to our courts at every level. And I'm here to tell you, they're all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, from the freedom of speech to the freedom of religion to the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And I couldn't be more proud to serve as Vice President to a President who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. So we gather today here at Cops for Trump to celebrate progress we've made on security, on liberty, on our values. But under this President, I don't need to tell all of you up here in New England, in this booming economy, it's also about three things under this President's leadership. It's about jobs, 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 and the American economy is booming. I mean, from the first day of this administration, President Trump promised to revive the American economy. We cut taxes across the board for working families, businesses large and small. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and the American economy is soaring. Since Election Day 2016, more than 7 million jobs have been created by businesses large and small, including 18,000 jobs right here in the Granite State. Unemployment's near a 50-year low. The stock market is soaring. 401ks are growing. I know the President likes to say he hears from time to time from fellows that manage their families' mutual fund accounts that he's been stopped more than once by fellows that say, Mr. President, I just want to thank you because my wife thinks I'm a financial genius now. I mean, seriously, pensions are growing. 401ks are growing. It's not just a number on the stock market. It's impacting working families. And maybe most important of all, I stand before you today thanks to the President's leadership. There are more Americans working today than ever before in American history. Incredible. Wages are rising across the board. Incomes are rising at the fastest pace that they've grown in more than a decade, and they're rising most rapidly for hardworking, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women are forgotten no more. And last month, building on all the momentum in this economy, this President signed the largest trade deal in American history. NAFTA is over, and the USMCA is here to stay, and it's going to create jobs all over New England and all over America. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, strong partners like Governor Sununu, and your support, we've made America great again in 3 short years. It's true. He agrees with me. But to keep America great, we need you to decide right here and right now that New Hampshire is going to vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. I mean, think about it. 4 more years means more jobs. 4 more years means more judges. 4 more years means more support for our troops and for law enforcement. And it's going to take at least 4 more years to drain that swamp. I mean, the endorsement today of this organization at this Cops for Trump rally means a great deal to us. Because the truth is, all across New England, all across America, the choice in this election couldn't be clearer, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As New Hampshire prepares to go to their first-in-the-nation primary tomorrow, think of the choice that we face. You have a president who loves this country, who stands by our military, by our law enforcement, by our workers, and by our freedoms. He never quits. He never backs down. He believes in you, and he fights for you every single day. And then you got all these Democrats running for president on the other side. I mean, here in New Hampshire, you've seen them up close and personal. And you know, I mean, the truth is, today's Democratic Party has been taken over by radical leftists who want higher taxes, open borders, late-term abortion, and socialist policies that would crush this economy. I mean, their leading candidates routinely accuse law enforcement of institutional racism. They want to give free health care to illegal aliens. They want to abolish ICE. And as states like New Hampshire struggle with the ravages of opioid abuse and addiction, one of their leading candidates actually wants to legalize drug possession, all drugs, including meth and heroin. And every single one of the Democrats on that debate stage last Friday actually criticized President Trump's decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Bernie and Joe Biden said they wouldn't even have taken the strike, and others didn't take a position. You know, Bernie Sanders called the president's decision to bring that man to justice, a man responsible for the death of hundreds of American soldiers, injuring thousands of Americans. He called that man's, the action we took against that man, quote, assassinating a government official. Well, I got news for Bernie Sanders. Soleimani was not some government official. He was a terrorist, and President Donald Trump was right to take him out. I mean, the truth is, none of those Democrats represent New Hampshire values or the rugged individualism of New England. I mean, the truth is, for 3 years, for the last 3 years, this president's been going up against opposition like I've never seen in my lifetime. But it's incredible. I mean, I think Democrats have been trying to run down this president ever since Election Day because they know they can't run against this president. I think they tried to impeach our president because they know they can't defeat President Donald Trump in November of 2020. I do. But despite 3 years of unjust and unprecedented opposition, I can tell you firsthand, I see it every day. Ivanka will back me up on this. President Donald Trump has never stopped fighting for you. And now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on. So we need you to bring it. The endorsement today means the world. I can't wait to hand it to him. I'll tell you what. I'm going to hand it right to him as soon as I see him. But we need you to keep bringing the enthusiasm that we see in this room today. Keep voicing your support. Keep telling neighbors and friends all that we've accomplished under this president. And recognize the fact that as men and women in law enforcement, you have a unique position in every community that you hail from. People respect you. People look up to you. And so the endorsement today means a great deal, but when you go back home, make sure and reach out to people and just talk to them about what this president has done and what the difference he's made for law enforcement, for law and order. Because I'll always believe the most powerful media in this country will always be and has always been not your cable TV, not your newspapers, not your internet. But it's when someone who knows you and respects you hears from you about an issue important to them. So go tell somebody. Tell somebody that President Donald Trump is the best friend law enforcement has ever had in the White House. You go tell him, because it's the God's honest truth. And in these divided times, I'd lastly encourage you just to have faith. Have faith in this president who will never stop fighting every single day between now and Election Day. Corey knows that. Corey was there from the very beginning, just like Ivanka. Funniest thing I ever hear from people sometimes, Corey, is when people come up to me and say, tell the president to just keep going. And I say, well, that's one thing you never have to tell President Donald Trump. I mean, as we say back in Indiana, all the reverse is stripped out of that pickup truck. It only goes forward, and I promise you he's going to keep fighting. He's going to keep delivering every single day. It's true. It's true. Have faith in the American people and the confidence and trust that they place in all of you. And lastly, if you're of a mind to exercise that other kind of faith, I'd encourage you to do that too. If you bow the head and bend the knee, and I don't know too many people that wear the uniform of law enforcement that don't, I'd encourage you to avail yourself of that wellspring of strength that has always been the source of this nation's greatness and goodness. Just pray for America. Pray for all the American people, because I know if we will just put our trust in Him, that He will bless America yet beyond anything that we could ask or imagine. So pray for America. It'll make a difference. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for this incredible endorsement. I promise you we're going to be through New Hampshire, through New England again and again until we deliver 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America.
All right, everybody, we are going to stay in New Hampshire here on Fox News Now, but we're going to head on over to that Elizabeth Warren Get Out the Vote event live on Fox News Now.